and this side is ES. Okay, so these are my observations. This is how I have the graph drawn out. Yesterday, we both markets were in negative gamma. So the vertical line, horizontal line is gamma. So we had an X there, and we had an X here. Okay. Next, yesterday, both markets lost liquidity. So this is the liquidity, and from where it was in the prior day, you ended up with an X lower, and in this case, it was lower and negative. Okay, so lower and positive, lower and negative. So today, right? So if you look at today, here, I'll change the color so you can see today. Where's the colors? Colors, colors, colors. Here, we'll do blue. Okay, so today, this is NQ. They added liquidity, right? So if you look, liquidity is still negative, but it was added. That goes in this upper column, and gamma went positive, okay? And if we look at ES, which is, no, that's not what I want. Let me look at, where did ES go? Dun, 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 dun. Okay, there's ES. SPY, it's the same chart. SPY, and we go, okay, same color. And if you look at SPY, you'll see right here, we went from negative 5.6 to negative 4.7. So that means that liquidity was added, but gamma is still negative. Okay, so if you'll go back and look, so it's hard to line both those up because you have to go to each day and compare each one to each day. Okay, but I can tell you from my history going back to February, when both X's for the new day line up on the right side, meaning, so ideal for today, if I'm doing ES, ideal for today, I'll do them off to the right, um, would have been liquidity was withdrawn and gamma was negative. And then same thing here, gamma negative and liquidity withdrawn. That would have been the best scenario right there. When that happens, the market hums, meaning it's very tradable, and it's very tradable in the direction of the liquidity. But if you look at today, what we actually have is we have NQ with positive gamma, ES with negative gamma, and they've added liquidity to both. Okay, what that usually ends up sending is mixed signals. Okay, that does not mean it's not tradable. What it means is that it's not as clean cut, like as for example, yesterday was to me, right? It's not as clean cut as yesterday was. So does anyone have any questions over that? I want to pause for a second and answer anyone's questions. Did that make sense to everybody? It's not that one is revealing, it's not that one market is telling you something amazing or the other market is telling you something amazing. What it's telling you is when they're all in sync, those tend to be days where we get just super duper paid. Okay. So today, both markets added liquidity, and my observation is going back through days is that when you get a up bar, that's an algo for us, right? And liquidity has been added, those up bars tend to work very well. Where they work phenomenally, right? Where they work phenomenally is when the X's, the new day's X's, are both in the same corner and they're both on the same side for both NQ and ES. So the optimal would be, like on this, would have been we added liquidity, liquidity was net positive. So here, let me do this. So yesterday we had this, okay? Any variation of this and this, when they match, winds up being really good days in the direction that they match up. The turn bars work really, really well. So if you'll picture, the inverse of this is this and this. This, positive liquidity, and liquidity was added, right? And positive gamma, and liquidity was added, um, and that the liquidity that was added was positive liquidity, as opposed to decreasing negative liquidity. Okay, why does this matter at all? Why am I going through this at all? Because the reason why I'm doing that is when you get these two sectors all lined up together, if you look at my P&L over the past 2.5 months, the days that are biggest for me is when those sectors are lined up together, and then variations thereof, right? So, but it's definitely less liquidity and positive, meaning liquidity added and uh, and positive gamma, or liquidity withdrawn and negative gamma, and they both match each other. So I know it's confusing for a fact. So if you're sitting there going, I don't know what Simon's talking about, it took me forever to frame this in my mind. Okay, I'm going to say that again. It took me forever to frame this in my mind. Okay. But when I went back and looked on OPEX days, okay, some days, if you followed that formula of simply did it add liquidity or withdraw liquidity, if you just traded the long side when you added liquidity, if you started trading at 8:30, some days you had very difficult mornings because there's been some days where they withdrew liquidity and we rallied like a banshee. Okay, in the first half hour to 45 minutes. There's some days where they added and we tanked. But if you waited till after about 9:15, everything started lining up and it went in the direction after the first 45 minutes. It went in the direction that the liquidity was added, has generally been my rule of thumb, and that has worked, right? And that's worked on either side of VWAP. So that's all the wisdom I can leave you with from that standpoint. I've got to just set up the major levels on NQ and see how much they changed real quick, and then I'll continue. Give me just a second. Let's just trash this pointer. And that's that. And now I'm working on QQQ. So let me do the math really quick. And so for QQQ, it is, okay, 87.34. That's 87.25. So let's do the math. 730 times plus 87. 3382 for the call wall. So the other call wall was way up here. Oh, it's in the same place, 3382. Okay. Oh, because the adjustment in the number. Got it. 730 yesterday was 735, but it was more points. Got it. Okay. So then the put wall goes at 712. 712. 29,635 is the put wall. So that moves up a lot. Okay. And then, so if I do that right below there, we have 710. 29,552, that's this. It's barely changed. It basically moved 2 ticks. I'm not going to correct the rest of that if that's what that is. 552 followed by doesn't change. $29,137. And that's the biggest gamma level. Let's see, this is not, this goes white. And if we get below there, I'll adjust, but right now that's 9470.29. I guess we could hit that. Let me see what's below there if I have it already. None of those move. They're all the same. Okay, that's fine. So now it looks like this. This goes white. We have econ at 8:45, and that is it for the day. And then it's all OPEX from there. There's the NQ levels posted. I'll move this over to the ES chart. Come on. I 100% agree with that. Thank you. Thank you, Bill. Yeah, I'll do it later, not now. But yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you. So, and then there I added the NQ and the ES. And get rid of that. File, close chart book, save any changes, no. Hopefully I saved that right. Store. And now everything seems to be working correctly. Ruh-roh. 19. Oh yeah, that's right. Okay. Okay. So yeah, so that's all I've got for today. If you followed, okay, so one of the things I'm seeing, I'm going to bring up yesterday's chart. Okay. Okay, I see several people trying to figure out, well, how do I figure out where I get the larger extensions and the smaller extensions, so on and so forth. And that is a hard thing to figure out, especially for newer traders. But look, one of the basic things you want to do when you're trading, this is 8 tick. I'm going to drop down to a 6 tick. Okay, look, one of the things you want to do when you're really thinking about it, one of the things you want to do, especially at the end of the day, right? How is the market trading? So yesterday my focus was on the short side of the bars. Okay, so this is the 20th, and I am looking for white dot and white bar down, and then what's the size of the extension? So I'll go right out of the gate. 8:30, no one trades it, but white bar down stopped. White bar down. So the first thing I want to look in the morning is I'm going to go, what was the rotation before it came back? Right? Just measure it and go, okay, this gave 6 points. This one gave 7 points. This one gave 7 points. This one gave 6 points. Do you see pretty quickly how all of a sudden you're like, oh, look at the rotation, right? Now, you could say, well, look at this is pre-market, right? And then if you look at the rotations up, what is it giving you? They're shorter here, right? 6, 2, 7, 5, 6, 7, 9, 11, 4, 7. This one only gave 1.25. So when I look at those, so basically what I came out of just out of memory is the downside rotations are giving about 6 points, right? Let's call it 5 to 6 initially. And the upside is giving anywhere from 4 to 9, okay? But to me, the short side was easier because it was simply faster. Now, maybe I was wrong and I should have taken it, but I was focused on the shorts yesterday, right? So what I see when I'm talking to some people or coaching some people is that they're going, well, I set the targets to 10, 20, 30, and it's clearly not giving 10, 20, 30 right now on ES, right? I think it gave it one time, and the irony of it is on the 6 tick, it didn't give the entry, right, to the short side. The next thing I'm going to look at where people are confused, if we erase all that, what was the stop that was required on the majority of these, right? So when I look at this and I go, this one, like if I measure how far it dug into the bar from here to here, 1.5 points. Okay, from none here, from here to here. Oh wait, I got it wrong from here. Oh, there it is. 2 points from here to here, 2 points, right? So on a 6 tick bar, the majority of these trades go 2 points. So maybe I give it a half point or one more point of grace behind it, but I know that I need about 2 points. And you could have found that out pretty early by looking early in how far they were digging out. Now, what's the downside of that? Had you shorted this white bar, you lose 2 points. But if you do it systemically and the majority of them work, like even on the longs, right? Look, almost all the longs on the flip required less than 2 points a stop before they extended 2 bars up. That piece, oh, we're open. That piece changes over time. Sorry, I didn't realize that. I forgot that we got started late. That piece changes over time. So what I tell people is actually look at what the market's actually doing. And measure it, right? Put it on your list. Did I just close the wrong one? Son of a gun. Oh, no, I got it right. Okay. So put it on your list, right? So for the first thing for today, right? We have econ at 8:45. Okay. Second thing for today, I am looking to the long side of the trade. Third thing, it's OPEX. So a couple of things about OPEX. If you're about to qualify an account, or it's a day where you're like, I just need one more inch and you're on edge about it, right? Today's not the day to qualify that account, and it's not the day to start a new account if you're doing funded accounts. And if you're trading your own account, it's a day to be pretty patient in the first half hour, right? You don't want to get your clock cleaned in OPEX. You don't. And what my observation was looking all the way back to August is if you skip the first 30 to 45 minutes, the day followed what we thought it would follow beforehand. But you ended up with a bunch of days in the first half hour that it just did what it wanted to do, and you could have easily gotten run over. So what's the solution in that situation? I'm going to tell you what that solution is, right? Wait. Okay, so you got to be honest with yourself right up front. If you go, hey, you know what? I don't care, right? I don't care. I'm just going to trade what the market tells me to trade. and I'll take my lumps, that's cool. If you're going to go, dude, I'm going to be totally pissed. If I take 4 stops in a row, my day's over. That's the easy answer. Don't trade because today's a day where you could have that, right? And if you're going to be shocked that it all of a sudden just does wild stuff like straight down, straight up, that's okay too. But just realize that stuff happens and there's not much you can do about it, quite frankly. It just happens, right? And that's what OPEX is. That's why a lot of traders won't trade OPEX. They'll just go, I'll just wait it out till they clean it up, right? So anything that happens here, I don't care about it, right? And for me, the answer is easy. I like putting on size when I've got the read. Okay. Right now, what do I've got? Nothing. And it's probably going to 76. Like you would think, here's the question I have today. Do we get to the major gamma levels? Like on NQ, we're already at the gamma level, right? Does it make a difference or does not make a difference? If you don't know the answer, I suggest you invest in some education and write down. Yeah, it matters. No, it doesn't matter, right? Because that's the only way you're going to learn over time. Let me refresh the unusual whales. There you go, Ed. Unusual whales, 1 hour. So we got calls over puts, net volume negative, price under zero, calls over zero, and I have no idea how that all translates into anything at all. So I'm just gonna wait and see how they trade out the day. I think that is probably my best solution. Even the 32 tick has a lot of bars. What a drop on NQ. Next, I tested that gamma level. And my observation is when the gamma is positive, when the liquidity has been added, excuse me, that the corresponding algos within that tend to work very well. So now we can test it quite easily on OpX at least, right? Does the up bar, how many of the up bars, if you're observing, are stopping and how many are getting a tradable lift, right? Maybe not a swing, right? But a tradable lift. And we have econ in 5 minutes. I'm gonna go grab a cup of coffee. I'll be right back. So I'm watching, still the first half hour, very closely what the up bars do. So far, right, if I look at the 32 and the 24, right, look at the dots. Dot, dot, stop. I'm just observing, right? I'm not saying it is. I'm just looking. Are they lifting or is that false? Look at the green bars. That one stopped. And then I'm discounting it a little bit because it's the first half hour, right? And we are underneath that gamma level. We should be above it technically to be strong. So I'm observing, right? What was my, so I'm putting the context of UpX plus liquidity added. What are the bars doing? Are they working or are they not working? One of the two. And if so, how far are they extending or not extending, right? So it's not a disaster. NQ still positive on the day, plus 10, right? So I'm going to watch. And then obviously you would conclude if you watched it, especially after 9:15, hey, the bars aren't lifting, right? Even if my plan is to go long and I see, hey, look, bar after bar is getting stopped, I'm going to stop that process, right? So you've got to take the knowledge that you have and then look at real time inputs, just like if you were flying a plane is the best way I can look at it, right? My plan is to fly from Dallas to Houston tomorrow, right? It's clear weather right now, there's no wind. And I get up tomorrow morning and it's thunderstorm and 30-mile-per-hour wind. Doesn't matter what I planned, I ain't flying, right? So that's the best analogy I can think of. I have a plan, the plan is adaptable. So now that my coffee should be brewed, I'll be right back. keep in mind while we are down, right? Review your trade plan, what you wanted to see today, right? Remember, we're on Friday. I had a really good day yesterday. Most of the week was okay, but I had a really good day yesterday, right? My goal is just to put up some money and get out and do most of my trading between 9:15 and 10:45 today, if not earlier. And you have market tide net volume positive, calls above puts, and puts under zero and calls over zero. That's usually, so see, that's all options related. It has nothing to do with nothing. It's not even, obviously it's not the same read, right? Because if you look, that, like, how many days you get that and the read looks like this, right? So again, for me, all the pieces can't fall into place today. They cannot, right? Because I'm missing one of my key elements. And I'll just have to see if it straightens out after the first 45 minutes, right? ES looks like it's making a beeline for that 76.71. Again, that's the biggest gamma level of the day for ES. And that chart's a little funny. Let's see if we can fix that. We're under VWAP on all markets and under the 100 period moving average. And I'm as right as rain. I'm just good. NQ's turned negative now negative 27. You could argue trend down. And from the highs, ES this morning has rolled down about 30 points. It's a ballpark, but that's about right. Let me see what the expected range is today. Green bar uplifted, obviously. Let's see. Second green bar uplifted on NQ there on the 24 and the 32. ES is looking for 60 to 90, and NQ says 400 to 550 points on the range. Now, is that right? Not sure, but that's what it says. And then don't forget our normal stuff, looking for supernova, impulse move higher, stuff like that. So, Calls over puts still. Net volume positive. Totally opposite what you would expect to see, right? And maybe that's just an OPEX thing. And so I'll take a picture of that. Is this normal on OPEX? Because you're getting kind of a trend down with positive gamma, calls over zero, puts under zero, and volume over zero. It's a little interesting, right? Very different from what we see on most days. Very. If you're uncertain, you just don't have to do anything. Does that make sense? And then look, NQ is negative, ES is still holding up positive. A few just, it's not horrible. Like the other day, it was really bad, down 150, up 22, and that was really choppy, right? So it doesn't have to be perfect, right? It doesn't have to perfectly align, but the best way to put it is get into an unfair fight, right? Get it so that everything you're normally looking for. So for some of you, you're new, you're like, well, I don't know what I'm looking for. But for those of us that have been around a minute, right? Look at what normally produces awesome days. So we already know we got a mixed bag with negative gamma, NQ and positive gamma, NQ and ES added liquidity, ES is a negative gamma. We have the unusual whales is not matching at all, right? Unusual whales is not matching at all today from what we have to what we see. So just imagine you were going to actually fight somebody and you were going to get punched, right? And non-competitively, right? So you don't want to be in a fair fight. You want to be in a fight that you're so certain to win, right? Because you don't want to get hurt, right? So you decide how many of those elements you need to line up, right? By the way, I'm not running my auto traders at all until after 8:45, and I'm restructuring them all to match whether liquidity was added or withdrawn. For the most part, that's how I'll run it. So I will remove the VWAP requirement if at least temporarily. So there's 9 a.m. I'm pretty sure. If we get above that square, we could probably lift back to the 29,334. This square down here, this is a pretty good punch lower. And your attitude has to be, if they don't give it to me, if they don't give you what you want, you don't care. It just shouldn't matter. Oh, no problem. 9:15, it was my observation, was the best time to start on OpEx in 15 minutes. 13. You can start whenever you want. Some days work smoothly right out of the gate on OpEx, but some were just nightmares. Back to the lows on ES. I mean, really the answer is you got to get above 29,344 at this point, but the bars are lifting when you're getting the long bars on NQ, and they definitely are on ES. I just don't have any idea. Like, it's kind of a nothing day. We're not extended up and we're not extended down. See how you should be able to look at this, go, what you should be able to do is look at this and go, wow, this is pretty different from yesterday, is what you should be able to do. You should look at this and go, this is pretty different from what I've been dealing with, right? If Chase and Vinny in particular, right? If you're not picking up, look how choppy it is. See how small the rotations are? Like, especially in ES, it's 2 bars reverse, 3 max. See that? You want those nice rolling lines up and down so you don't get caught in chop, excuse me, right? You want it to roll up nicely, roll down nicely. ES ain't doing that right now, right? NQ's barely doing it, and I mean barely doing it. You want to see, like in NQ, you want to see 50, 70 point rotations up and down, 30, 40 at minimum, right? And in ES, you need it to rotate unless you're making just a call. It's going up or it's going down. And if it's not doing that, you need to avoid putting on too much leverage, not getting, like Ed said, chop chop. It's important that you recognize it. And Friday already gives itself to chop. We're in August, it's summertime, that gives itself to chop. So we want to see evidence. I want to see evidence that I can get paid more than 5 points on an NQ trade, or more than 10 points on an NQ trade, and more than 2 points on ES to put on the risk, right? And I'd rather it be fast than slow. But the green bars up on ES, we've only had one, but they're lifting, and the yellow dot up is lifting. That was actually before market. They're on the 6 tick and on the 4 tick. Green bars up are lifting on the turn. I see 2 at the turn that have lifted. NQ and ES both positive now. People, my guess is people try to press for the short on the downside there. And so now they're going to come back and retest the gamma level, right? And because I don't have a fixed idea from today, other than I wanted to work my green bars up and my yellow dots up if I get them, I'm in good shape, right? Like, I'm not going like, oh my gosh, I don't understand what's going on. I thought the up bars would work. I was going to wait out my first 45 minutes to see how it looks, right? I see the pace is slower than yesterday. The range is narrower than yesterday, and that the market um, market tide is not lining up with what ES or NQ is doing. So all of that tells me, gives me even more permission to say, hey, it's all right. I can do less, right? I'm not desperate to make money. I am desperate to stay on process though. If I'm going to lose money, it is most definitely going to be on process. I can tell you that right now without a doubt. That is what I'm willing to pay for in my trades. And see that move? Like, look at NQ, how it's trading, right? See that? It's not like usually, Bill, what are we at per bars per minute? It's got to be pretty low on NQ if you have time to post that. If you don't worry about it. Well, we're under VWAP and we had an open drive lower. Calls are over puts. I would have expected, and prices over 0, I would have expected some variation on up, not the open drive down that we got there. Like, that's an open drive lower. I realize it's a 50-60 pullback, but we opened and we drove pretty much straight down, wouldn't you say? Even before 7 o'clock, we just have continued down. Am I missing the point? for 1 minute average on NQ, huh? I guess I'm just missing the point. Maybe I'm had the read wrong. How do you see it, Bill? Yeah, I agree with that, Ed. 100%. No disagreement. Yeah, I'm looking long, but I just haven't taken anything. And my plan was not to take anything. So until 9:15 when we're approaching. But I'd like to get a little bit of that whip we had yesterday. That was fun. Ten-year yield was at the high of the day at some point today. Wow, look how slow the pace is. Whatever trade you take today is going to probably require some patience, at least so far this morning. That's what the market is saying. We're just, that's my opinion. If you see it differently, you got to trade it the way you see it, right? I see NQ being okay. I see ES in fits and starts at times, and I look for some continuity, right? And um, so I'm trying to figure out if I'm just reading it wrong. but I don't think I am. In terms of sometimes it doesn't go as fast as I want it to, so then I dismiss it, and that's not correct. So I'm watching. NQ negative again on the day. NQ accelerating down. New low of the day. Below the 100 period moving average and VWAP. So, and ES not hitting the new low of the day. So the answer is if you see an algo that you think you should be taking and I'm not taking it, I shouldn't be your final arbiter of whether you're taking the trade or not. I know what I'm looking for, right? And I'll have no hesitation in hitting that button when I see it, right? But right now I don't see exactly what I'm looking for, which is ES and NQ are kind of a bit off, right? So, and I have conflicting information. I'm all right being more patient on those days when the information doesn't quite line up with what I'm looking for. Coming off the calls, they're buying some puts, and they're coming off the net volume a little bit too. So again, a lot of this of that unusual whales today is going to be OPEX related. So we'll see how it goes after we get through that first series of rotations. Purple bar down, if you can get above that purple bar down, that is usually a good sign near the low. If on NQ on that 24 tick. See that? If you can get above that. Again, I don't like the way the market's operating personally. So I'm just watching. And I'm not even, so I'm getting dots on the downside that are working if I use the full bar stop. So I'm recognizing that. And what I'm trying to do is adjust my own expectation because I'm not getting what I thought I would get. But it just now got past the first 45 minutes. So now I'll see, we'll have a cross again. The problem is the range on the cross. So I'll wait for the algo entry if I do get the cross to the downside, and the net volume is still positive. So we're getting a down move in NQ, right? Doesn't mean SPY can't stay up, but they're not matching one another in terms of the movement quality, right? So I hate to say that, but I'm not going to sit there and I just make so much money when I get it all lined up that I'm not going to worry about it when it doesn't. And that target down for shorts is 76.71. Yep, I agree. Yeah, I'm right there with you, Ed, and I kind of like them when they all dance together. So he's got to pick your poison. Yeah, I saw that, Brian. Like I said, when it starts off kind of funky, I'm looking to see if it clears up, right? So right now I'm open to finding a setup, and I'm also open to going to lunch. So we'll see what occurs first. But there's no question you can see like that green bar failed, that green bar went up, this four tick green bar worked. Um, we'll see if this green bar up there on the four tick works. I'm watching it and seeing if I can find a rhythm. I'll tell you this, who the slow pace is bad for overall, and that's bears. Bears need momentum and speed most of the time to make their trades work, right? Otherwise, what happens is too many people pack in and they get squeezed out. We're over this dude. That's usually a requirement. And usually what I would say is I don't want to close back below that bar now. Now, will that happen? No idea. But that's what I would say. See? Backside tested that guy and lifted. Now, if you can get over that 100 period, he has a chance of moving up to VWAP. Again, that's the algo in sim, just testing away. Yeah, I'm not taking that trade. Now, I tell you where I would have been short. Had we removed liquidity, I'd be short all these bars. But we didn't, and maybe I'm just wrong today. But that dance partner has brought me a lot of money. And so I'm pretty good letting it do what it's got to do. Green bar up on NQ coming out of there. That's usually pretty good. Meaning the backside test of this guy would seem like it would have him trapped. I would also expect, because ES appears to be relatively stronger, I would expect to see ES back above its 100 period moving average. Like that would just be a sign of, yeah, this is more than just too many shorts got buried down there and they're kind of taking them out. Because ES isn't lifting at all. ES moving back to flat on the day. I mean, excuse me, NQ. Interesting. I would have thought as soon as we got some strength in NQ that ES would have responded up. Look at it, just parked. I find that totally fascinating. Well, something's afoot. And it's NQ only. I'm telling you, that is NQ specific. I don't know what it is, but it is NQ specific. Because usually you'll see ES and NQ jump simultaneously. Like it's pretty rare for it to pull this little deal off like this. Interesting, really interesting. ES down when NQ jumped. Choppity chop chop. I'm watching to see what that white dot does down on the 6 tick on these. You kind of got to wonder if there's news pending the way it's trading. It's just, it's not that it can't, it's just that it's weird. The way NQ is jumping, ES isn't. It's just an odd combination of things. You know, and then ES was strong and NQ was weak. It's like, what is that noise? You know? I'm quiet, it's because, yeah. It's just moving slow as molasses. So we'll just see what it does. Guys, like I said, I've had a good week. I am not in the mood to overpress my, not in the mood to overpress my edge or lack of edge or whatever you want to call it, right? I'm totally willing to wait for a clear read, right? I'm not willing to get chopped. So what I see right now, so let's just do a review real quick. If you were trading ES and your bias was short, right? And you're looking for white bar down and white dot down, white bar down and dot down. Both of them paid you. Your bias is long, right? And again, we're going to look. Um, Actually, that one doesn't even count because it's 8:28 a.m. So if you're looking long, let's just go over to 8:51 at the earliest. And on the 6 tick, I see nothing but this and maybe this. On the 4 tick, right, I see this long, even though it's a white bar, it's a yellow dot. Prefer it to be green, but whatever, right? And on this one, see if I see any other longs. That short came out of a zipper. I usually don't take those. And green bar up. That's really, and that was 8:58. That's really all I see. One thing I find when I'm talking to different traders, right, is they let the anxiety of a trade, one way or the other, build in them. Okay. Like I'm missing because they see it rolling up and down, but I want to remind you what the elements are of what we need. We want, hey, we need the hammer, right? Is the last piece, the algo itself. So you're not missing very much from that perspective at all. The second thing you need is the general price action to suit your style. What suits me may not suit you and vice versa. But that's generally what you need to make that work. Okay, that's generally what you need to make that work. And then the way that it's rotating or the pace at which it's rotating becomes important. Okay, so all those things go into making a match, right? But what could what happens? So what happens to me in these situations is it gets slow. I've been sitting here since whatever time in the morning doing the charts, getting ready, and the market owes me something, right? That's my opinion. I'm not, and I'm instead of being here to execute a strategy, I'm here to simply do trades and put money on the board at any cost, right? So that's generally not what I feel like I need to be doing in this case, right? Or in this situation. I don't feel like I have anything to prove. And I feel like the market's completely on hold here for whatever reason. It's not mine. And if you can't tell the difference between yesterday and today, it's for me, it's pretty dramatic, right? For you, maybe not. For me, it is. Okay. So what I do or what I want to do in that scenario, right? What I want to do in that scenario is I want to be very, very patient, right? And just let the market come to me because my intention, right? My intention is not to simply trade, right? My intention is not to simply trade. That would be dumb, quite frankly, right? If that was the only point of me being here, that would just be dumb, right? My point is actually to execute a strategy that I know is being extremely high odds of making a lot of money. So you've got to keep striving for each of us. What does that look like? What is that element that makes sense to each and every one of us that says, hey, I know what this looks like and I know how to pull this trade off, right? I know how to do this trade in a way that's profitable to me, okay? And when you can do that, that's when you'll make a lot of money, right? As long as you are begging that every day has to be perfect for you and I'm here and therefore I must trade, right? You're going to find yourself in a condition where you constantly have to adjust for rotation size, right? And if you can't get the rotation size, you're going to find yourself in a very frustrating position, right? You're going to find yourself in a very frustrating position. And my strongest suggestion is that you not do that. That's my strongest suggestion is that you not put yourself in a position where you're constantly exposed to just getting stopped out because there's no rhyme or reason to the way they're driving the market today, right? NQ, ES gets weak, NQ gets strong. NQ gets strong, it gets weak. We bust out, we fall in, right? It's not following a rhythm. And if anything, I still see the green bars lifting, right? So I'm in conflict. I'm not going to sit there and try to be perfect. It just doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever to do that, right? And then at some point, we actually need news today to actually move this thing, because right now we're not. I just got nothing. And most important in my notes is don't get too tense. Tensity, tenseness is definitely the enemy of my existence. I wonder if someone's talking. Just the way it's moving, and now ES is picking up. Just weird, right? So it's okay, nothing horrible, just yeah. Guys, I'll be back in a minute. I can't take watching it. I'll see what it looks like at 10 o'clock. so glad I am not sitting here shorting this. Anyone know what caused our little rally other than we consolidated down there at the bottom and trapped all the shorts? Did anyone say boo? Did Trumper? See what I mean? It was just when they doesn't match up, right? The I'm all right. Like I could have easily got caught out short there. Could have easily gotten long too there at the bottom, but I didn't. Right? I just didn't do anything. I just need to see it decide to do something. And if it's going to do nothing, that's okay too. If it's going to do nothing, that's okay too. But I don't need to be the one to figure that out. I'll let the marketplace figure that out. It could have been the bond market move too, possible. I'm not watching the bond market. The symbol's TLT if you want to look it up for if you want the index. So that's inverse. So TLT goes up if interest rates go down, and it goes down if interest rates go up. Here, we can take a look. TLT interest rates must be going. TLT is getting a pretty good V-shaper, right? So if price is going up, here's 5-day. Why does that, Ed, help me out with that. That thing's inverse, right? I always get this confused in my head. Interest rates go down, price goes, interest rates go up, price goes down. If price goes down, I forget I'm pretty sure it's opposite from what it usually is. That I agree with. Got it. Okay, that makes sense. Thank you, sir. Okay. So I think I'm gonna go get a little sunshine for a minute, guys, because we're not rotating. We're not rotating. That's a good big move up. We're just not rotating back and forth. All little things I like to get, and I'm all right with it. It's kind of a funky day. So I'll step away for a minute and I'll be back and we get some sunshine.